That would be me. Yes. Today, I would like to propose what I think is a most wondrous idea, something we all could enjoy. I believe we should do what we can to make Fluffy scary again. What do I mean by that? Well, just look at the Kaiju world, that is, the world of giant monsters. It is filled with all sorts of things scaly, reptilian, hard shelled, insectine, arachnid, and all those types of creepy sort of giant monsters. But what is lacking, what has been lacking for far too long, is a larger array of monsters that are fluffy. And when I say fluffy, I mean something that seems to be comprised of more fluff or fur, whatever it might be made of, than monster, than creature. One of the few examples I can even think of is Woo from Ultraman. I mean, King Kong is furry, but I would hardly classify him as fluffy. No. So, I'm going to present five fluffy things which I believe would make a great basis for wonderful kaiju. And might I note that not every fluffy thing is necessarily a mammal. No. The first fluffy thing I have in mind is a Yeti Crab. Yes. A Yeti Crab is this sort of white, elongate, lobster like crustacean with super long arms that are covered in fluff. I do not believe this creature rolls up its sleeves when getting into action. No, but quite a wonderful creature there. I bet you did not expect to see a crustacean that is fluffy, huh? No. Next, I have in mind the puffin. I know that the penguins have marched their way through a great popular takeover, everyone loving them with all the movies and specials about them. But come on! Puffins are amazing. They're at least as amazing as penguins, at least as cute, and they can fly. And they're so cute and fluffy and fuzzy. Even a great big giant puffin would still look so adorable. That is, until you wind up stuck on a ship that it mistakes for a large fish. The next fluffy creature I have in mind is the woolly bear. For the kaiju world is already chock full of way too many non-fuzzy caterpillars. It's nice to get one that's nice and fuzzy and fluffy. Or you can take the name of woolly bear and sort of spin that around and make this sort of a half caterpillar, half bear, fluffy hybrid. Cute, or is it? Next, there is the velvet ant. This is actually an ant-like wasp that is coated in often this red or orange, sometimes silver, fluff. Kind of nice looking for an insect. You might almost be tempted to pet it with your finger, but beware, stand back. For the velvet ant is legendary for having one of the most painful stings in the entire insect kingdom. There is good reason that they have nicknamed this thing a cow killer. And just imagine how much more potent that back end lance would be if this creature were the size of not a cow, but a cow barn. And last but not the least fluffy is a dandelion. Oh no, I speak not of the yellow flower, but of the spore-filled tops that you see when they're getting ready to disperse their seeds. You know what I am talking about. Those little things you love to snap up out of the grass and give a nice so their little parachute guys go all over creation. Just imagine one of those as large as the Epcot Dome, peering over a city. How imposing, how frightening, until it sneezes, and then suddenly the puff, the fluff go everywhere. Problem solved, or is it? There might be an entirely new parachuting nightmare to contend with. And you know, I did say that this was a top 5 list, but I actually had a few more entries. I had 2 more that I was going to add on here, but I just cannot quite think of what they are. I suppose my mind is a little fuzzy. Well, stay tuned. Perhaps I will think of them eventually. Are you in a metal mood? You know I always am. Yes. In fact, I am medaling it up right up to each and every one of these very shoots. Did you know that in preparation for these video shoots of mine, I have prepared my very own personal soundtrack, something to pump myself up and really get me charged and ready to do what must be done. This same soundtrack has carried me into so many conventions and other events in the past. Yes, I do feel it is good to do what you can to get in the right mood when you're about to do something that is special to you and hopefully to those around you. So, I'm going to share with you 5 of my personally inspiring soundtrack songs. This could be the soundtrack to Monster D, if you will. Are we ready? So, we'll begin with Tremble by A Sound of Thunder. Yes, this is off of their concept album, Tales from the Dead Side. And what is it I love about this song so much? Oh, it's the simple fact that Tremble is describing how big and tough and foreboding this ethereal monster is that is approaching the protagonist. And I love having these descriptors forced behind me, making me feel all the more powerful and in charge. Here's a fun fact. If you go far enough back in my monster videos, you will find I was using an edited version of the opening of this song as my own intro. I love Tremble. Yes, this does begin each of my soundtracks. Next, and yes, this is in order, by the way, of how I tend to listen to them. This is Return of the Phantom Stranger by Rob Zombie. Yes, off of his Hellbilly Deluxe album, all the way from back in the 90s. This entire track has been with me for a long time, influencing me from behind. And Return of the Phantom Stranger in particular, above all the other songs on this album, has this very tense, tight, slow build. It's very doom-laced, for sure. And it speaks of this sort of dark-clad figure returning in from whatever nexus of void he might have come. Sound familiar? Yes. So yes, when I'm about to return to the video-going ways that I do, Return of the Phantom Stranger is a perfect choice. Next is, surprise, surprise, Monster Man by Accept. Yes. I love Monster Man. What I enjoy about this song, this is a very good pick up and go kind of song. You know, it really speaks about wanting to get things done. It talks about, let me see here, what are some of the lyrics? It talks about hot fighting, which just makes me think of fighting with all my equipment. And, you know, I still remember the nights is something that harkens back to past events and videos that I have done and I have conquered. So, yes, I definitely enjoy that. Remembering those nights reminded me of when I fights with my lights. Myself and my assistant, by the way. Yes. So, funny thing about Monster Man is the chorus actually says that I am no Monster Man. But for a very long time, I thought it said, I am the Monster Man. And that is simply the way I prefer to sing and remember it. So, I am most definitely the Monster Man. And I love this song. Number 4 on the list is Monster of Rock by Judas Priest. Yes. You'll see a little bit of a pattern here, how I almost do sort of a slow, fast, slow thing. And this one is a stomping, slow, trudging song by Judas Priest. This one is interesting because it is kind of a dual origin. It can be the birth of a monster, but it is really the birth of hard rock, of heavy metal, really. It speaks of the black country and concrete and smoke. And these descriptors very pointedly talk about Birmingham in England. This was the birthplace of Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Judas Priest and so many others who were the founding fathers of heavy metal. And this puts me in mind of how I spent so many years honing my craft in Pittsburgh, the steel town, which itself is full of concrete and had previously had quite a bit of smoke and grime in it. So, yes, this sort of, I love thinking of this as sort of the birth of the monster and the birth of the metal, both of which integral to what I do and who I am. And last, and not least at all, Unleashed is Destroy All Monsters by Raven. Now this one, this is not a slow song in any which way. And this makes a perfect final track before I do what I'm about to do. Right before those lights come on and that camera rolls, this song is just finishing playing. Guaranteed, yes. Man, and it might seem odd that I would choose a song called Destroy All Monsters because you know very well I do not wish to destroy any monsters. I create them. But no, it is the fun callback to the classic Godzilla film that puts lots of fun visuals in mind. And, you know, the song is all about attack, 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 attack. You know, it is get that thing done that you need to get done now. And, you know, it's very haste. And sometimes I need a little extra haste to get my cape flowing properly. A fun little fact, I actually very briefly toyed with some concept designs in an attempt to help create a cover for this album. It was not to be, but it certainly was an educational and wonderful experience getting to do such. And, you know, the cover that ultimately was chosen is quite amazing too. And yes, Destroy All Monsters is the way to go to get me going. Yes. Aha! I remember. Welcome to the drawing challenge, and how timely it is of you to be here, for I remember those last two fluffy monsters at last. Yes. And those last two are the Puffball Mushroom and the Puss Caterpillar, or Puss Moth Caterpillar. Two super fluffy, super strange things. And you know what? As a special treat for the drawing challenge, I am going to draw both of them. Yes, so it is going to be Fluffy versus Fluffy. Fungus versus larva. How fun is that? So, I think I'm going to need to turn this sketchbook this way to get the right kind of scene, a nice panoramic cinematic view. Are you ready? Let us get drawing. First, I think I'm going to start with the caterpillar. This is the stranger of the two, I believe. Have you ever come across a puss caterpillar? Well, if you have, odds are you either live or were visiting a southern state, likely Florida, possibly Louisiana. This is a strange creature that is fluffy to the max. Fluffy to the point that it might almost be hard to make out that it is in fact a caterpillar. But it is in fact a caterpillar. But the more shag, the more fluff, the better, as far as I go, because it helps to render it out in a nice, fun, sort of whimsical way. Note, if you ever are in an area where you might come across such a creature, I urge you to look from an extremely safe distance, as these puff caterpillars can be quite toxic. I believe it is their hairs that are irritating. So, like any nature, it pays to respect and to enjoy them from a nice, safe, comfortable distance. Yes. Alright, so they have this this hairdo on them that almost puts me in mind of the top of a soft serve ice cream cone. But yeah, again, I would not give this cone any kind of lick. So, I think I'm going to add some shade. I'm going to keep this face something of a mystery. Caterpillars in general have very blank faces, generally. I probably have not looked in depth into the composition of their eyes. They appear to have no eyes, but my belief is that they have something like rudimentary light sensors underneath that sort of face dome that they possess. So they can see, in a sense, around them, either a combination of light and or movement. But, so anyway, Puss Caterpillar. Of course, I could be wrong, and they could be entirely scent-based as they get around, as some insects are. They do seem to be able to distinguish what plant is what, so they eat what they always intend to eat. Interesting. So now I am going to do the puffball. The puffball is a type of mushroom, a fungus, that is very much like its namesake, a big old ball of fluff, sort of an off-white cream color. Quite delicious, by the way. This is something I definitely would and have handled a number of times. A soft and creamy kind of exterior. Of course, if we were dealing with a giant puffball that had self-mobility, I think I might pass that culinary adventure. Have you ever tried a puffball before? I've seen them in grocery stores, even relatively small grocery stores, from time to time. If you go somewhere that has even a halfway decent sort of mushroom section, it's good to go ahead and take a peek in there. Every once in a while, you get lucky amidst all the button mushrooms, the white cap mushrooms, the portobellas, the creminis, all the standard stuff. Every great once in a while, they get something crazy like an oyster mushroom or one of these puffballs. Fun fact about purchasing mushrooms from a produce section, if you get them by the weight, more often than not, they wind up being a good bargain because however big they get, for some reason mushrooms are very, very lightweight. I think probably because of their function in spore dispersal and for coming out of the ground, but they're very lightweight, so they often, you can often get a lot of mushroom for very little. If you're doing a going by the weight situation, if you get the weigh and sort of take your own. So one of these puffballs, which is maybe, smaller than softball size, could wind up being under $1 or something. Not too bad, huh? So now I am going to add a bit of a city scene in the background here. Just a nice flat, just enough to let you know these are giants in this world here. Sometimes it's fun to do a more detailed city scene, and sometimes it's nice to just go with something that's basic, right? Just enough to fill the scene. Let's see here. So it's less of a city and more of a stage in a sense. I'll have some little cars going here in the distance. Just rudimentary cars. The further the distance something is, the more you can get away with simple details, like for wheels, just black dots will do. Sometimes the only reason to put something else in the scene is just to give a sense of scale, so you do in fact know that you are dealing with giants. Some line windows here. Lines going the other way. Lines up and down again. And then I come back again and reinforce the creatures in the front with thicker lines so they stand out from the background all the more. What are some of your favorite fluffy creatures? Favorite fluffy things? You have any other fluffy non-animals that you could think of? Be they fungi or plant or something else that I have not thought of? It's amazing that all these different things can achieve the concept of fluffiness. Oh, here, you know what? How about we do this? We end the whole thing with a little bit of water. Maybe this is the city's edge, so there is not a whole lot in the foreground, just water. And then I encapsulate it all with a light sky. Instead of burning my whole candle, this is not a candle, this is a marker. Instead of using it all up, I'll do some light lines just to suggest that it's a sky. Leaving a little bit of white helps too, with it being a daytime scene. And then I'm going to go in and give a little bit of color to the buildings behind there. And this simple color will be just enough to help our fuzzy creatures, our fuzzy little friends, fuzzy big friends, stand out. Use that. And then I will go in with some green buildings. There we go. Green. A green car. See, when you apply pressure, you can make the same marker a little darker, a little heavier. You get many different sort of shades and hues, tints rather, with the same marker. Another blue car, darker blue car. And then, for some reason, I feel like if you get any group of cars, there should be at least one red car in there. Anyway, so that is that. And seal it off with a... Ooh, I was expecting that to be a dying marker. That one's actually quite lively. I must go further back here on the monster belt. There we go. And then a little bit of shading on the road. Or whatever that is. Maybe it's just sheer pavement. Unconstructed area there. Sometimes you get that at the edge of a city. And then here is my name. Monster D. And there you have it. We have the pus caterpillar and the puffball mushroom. Pus versus puff. Fluff versus fluff. Who do you think would win? I mean, clearly the puffball mushroom is much larger than the caterpillar, but the caterpillar is venomous. On the other hand, the puffball is not an animal. It is a fungus. So how would it even react to venom? Would it react to poison at all? Interesting. I wonder if the caterpillar would know to even attempt to eat a mushroom. Oh, so many questions, so little fluffy time. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this drawing challenge as well as the video entire. If you have, please do check that like box and toll that bell. Until the next time, this is the real Monster D saying, stay monstrous.